It is apparent that there is a power game behind the scenes which common people don't know of, and they are not supposed to. They are supposed to believe in their politicians whom they have elected, but it seems that those democratically elected people generally don't have warm feelings for the people. On the contrary, and they love the European Union, the Union that was invented by Hitler, and during the last war the Social Democrats praised Europa to the skies, and those Europa fans supported the Nazistic idea, and at an election a few years ago we could read the same propaganda in the streets for the European Union. The same words as the Nazists used. Extension of the East. Said in other words, colonizing the East. Not all Nazis fled to the Arabian countries, not all were judged. At the beginning of the 1950s, the Bilderberg Group was established, and this group has its center in the European Union. The group was founded by the previous Waffen-SS Prince Bernhard of Holland, who invited prominent persons to his secret society, a new society that had parallels in other countries, for example, the Round Table, Council for Foreign Relationships, and others. Like all the other secret societies in Europe, the members' primary interest was money. Everything is about money and power. In order to gain the totalitarian power, they are working on the establishment of a one-world government so that all nations in the world submit to this government and the globalizing which is already going on. After the war they continued to develop the European Union, and one of our prime ministers, who favored the Nazistic ideas during the war, led us directly into the lion's den in 1972. At that time, people had forgotten the Nazistic ideas, and they did no longer think of Europa. The name of EU at that time was EF, European Federation, and nobody thought of the relation to Europa. And our politicians promised the skeptics that there would never be a union. People had forgotten that Hitler wanted to abolish all boundaries of the small nations and to destroy their sovereignty and national feelings. Also, at that time, we experienced the same methods as today. People were not allowed to criticize or annoy the occupying power. It was totally prohibited to say jokes about them. Today we have the law of racism, which says the same. In both cases the law is turned towards Danes, who want to protect their country, while the law of racism protects the enemy. The totalitarian state is coming closer once again. In the 1970s, Denmark signed conventions with each Muslim country, and these conventions guaranteed that Muslims very easily could enter our labor market and have social support. We assume the same thing has happened in all other European countries. In this way, our politicians have invited Muslims to enter our country, or at least they have taken steps to make it easy for foreigners from the Middle East to work in Denmark. They call it migrant workers, and migrant workers have free admittance to our country. It just happened, one of our leading politicians said in an interview about the immigration, and she seems to assert that immigrants fell down from heaven. But we know that she is a member of at least one of the secret societies that want us to believe that the immigration is a natural consequence of the development. But the immigration has been planned in all details, and the planning started right after the last World War, and the UN played an important part here, the part of the rascal disguised as a good fairy. An important fact is kept secret, the fact that all Arabic countries declared war on the Western world with all possible methods. According to the program in this declaration, one of their weapons is immigration, because in this way they'll slowly bear so many children to Allah that the Muslims will be in the majority. Another weapon is terror. This declaration of war was mentioned on the Danish radio in 1980, but since then there was silence. But we noticed that the war declaration intended to use all possible methods to destroy the West. Who thought that immigration could be a weapon? But how can we prevent Muslims from being in majority within a short time, when Danish women, and probably all women in the Western civilization, bear so few children that the number of Western people is reduced and the number of Muslims is increasing? A slow genocide is taking place, and our good politicians support this process, and nobody seems to catch sight of this genocide process. They explain away terror with the following arguments. They are not all terrorists. Maybe not, but all terrorists who want to destroy the Western world are Muslims. Of course, not all Muslims are terrorists, but it is sufficient that they bear so many children that their number will exceed the number of white people. The rhetoric that supports Islam and Muslims has a free rein.